The alien empire of Karai was old and proud, built on strict laws and ancient customs. Strength was valued above all else. From birth, children were tested, trained, and ranked. Those who were weak were kept out of sight, spoken of in low voices. In the highest palace of black stone lived King Herrick, ruler of the empire, feared by enemies and obeyed by his people. Yet even a king could not escape fate. His youngest daughter, Princess Yura, was born small and fragile. Her body tired easily. Her limbs shook after little effort. While other royal children trained with blades and armor, Yura watched from quiet balconies. Servants whispered that she was cursed. Nobles said she was a shame to the bloodline. The king heard every word, even when spoken softly. Herrick did not hate his daughter. In private, he sat beside her bed and listened to her gentle voice. Yura was kind, thoughtful, and curious. She asked about the stars and distant worlds. She read history and learned many languages. But in Karai, kindness was not power. The king knew that one day her weakness would place her in danger. At the same time, the human federation was rising fast. Humans were new to the wider galaxy, but they learned quickly. They adapted to strange worlds, harsh climates, and powerful enemies. Their ships were simple but effective. Their soldiers were not born warriors, yet they became strong through training and will. Many alien empires feared them. To avoid war, the Council of Karai advised a binding union. An ancient custom allowed peace through marriage. The king could offer his daughter to a human representative. In return, the humans would swear alliance and protection. The council expected Herrick to refuse. Giving a royal daughter to a human was seen as humiliation. But Herrick surprised them all. He agreed. Some believed the king was cruel, sending his weakest child away. Others believed he was clever, sacrificing little to gain peace. Only Herrick knew the truth. He believed that among humans, Yura might survive. Among her own people, she never would. The chosen human was Captain June Park. He was not from a noble house. He was not famous. He was known for calm judgment and quiet discipline. He had grown up on a poor colony world and joined the military young. He believed that effort mattered more than pride. When he was told he would accept a royal alien bride, he was stunned. June did not celebrate. He studied Karai culture, its laws and its dangers. He learned about Yura. He saw reports describing her as weak and unsuitable. Instead of judgment, he felt concern. He promised himself that he would treat her with respect, no matter how others viewed her. The meeting took place on a neutral station between stars. Yura arrived surrounded by guards, her posture straight despite the pain in her body. She wore simple robes instead of heavy royal armor. Her eyes were wide but steady. June bowed, as human custom allowed. He did not stare. He did not speak loudly. Why, you noticed this. Most aliens looked at her with pity or disgust. June looked at her as a person. Their union was declared in quiet ceremony. No joy filled the hall. The alien delegates watched with cold faces. The human officers remained silent and respectful. When it was done, Yura was no longer a princess of Karai alone. She was now bound to humanity. As her ship prepared to leave, King Herrick spoke to her one last time. His voice was heavy. He told her to survive. He told her to learn. He did not say he loved her, but his eyes did. The journey to human space took many days. Yura spent most of it resting, her body struggling with stress and gravity changes. June checked on her often, not as a guard but as a partner. He adjusted ship conditions to ease her pain. He brought her simple human meals and explained their customs. Yura listened closely. Humans did not hide their weak. They trained them. They did not rank children at birth. They believed effort could change fate. These ideas felt strange, almost impossible. When they arrived at the frontier world of Haven Ridge, Yura was shocked. The planet was rough and unfinished. Buildings were strong but plain. Soldiers repaired walls beside engineers. Leaders worked among workers. No one bowed deeply. No one looked away in fear. Some stared at Yura, curious about her alien form. None mocked her. June lived simply. His home was small but clean. There were no servants. Yura felt lost at first, unsure of her place. Yet she also felt lighter, as if a heavy chain had been removed. In the days that followed, she watched human soldiers train. They fell. They failed. They stood up again. Strength was earned through repetition and pain. No one was born ready. Yura's body still trembled. She still grew tired. But for the first time in her life, she wondered if weakness was not the end. One evening, she asked June a simple question. She asked if someone like her could learn to be strong. June answered without hesitation. He said strength was not given. It was built. Yura looked toward the distant stars, her heart beating fast. For the first time, hope felt real. Life on Haven Ridge moved at a steady and demanding pace. The planet did not care about titles or origins. Cold winds swept across metal platforms, and red dust covered boots and walls alike. Yura felt the difference every day. Her body ached from the unfamiliar gravity and dry air, yet she did not complain. She watched, learned, and endured. June returned to duty quickly. He trained local defense units made of humans from many worlds. Some were young. Some were old. Some were injured veterans. None were perfect. Yura noticed that June treated them all the same. He corrected mistakes with calm words and patience. When someone failed, he did not shame them. He told them to try again. Yura spent most mornings resting and studying. She read human manuals, history logs, and basic language guides, even though she already understood much. Humans wrote simply. Their records focused on lessons learned rather than glory won. This way of thinking felt strange, but comforting. In the afternoons, she walked slowly along the training grounds, leaning on a light support staff designed by human engineers to fit her frame. Soldiers noticed her presence, but did not stop their drills. Some nodded in greeting. Others smiled. No one looked away. One day, she saw a young human stumble during a strength exercise. He fell hard and stayed down. Instead of mocking him, the others helped him up. June adjusted the exercise for him and told him progress mattered more than speed. Yura felt something tighten in her chest. In Karai, that boy would have been removed and forgotten. That evening, Yura asked June if humans were born stronger than her people. June shook his head. He said humans were fragile by nature. Their bones broke. Their bodies failed. Many died young in early history. What changed them was refusal to accept limits. Yu R.A. thought about this late into the night. Her weakness had always been treated as final truth. No one had ever asked what she could become. Days passed. Her health slowly stabilized. Human doctors adjusted her diet and gravity exposure with care. They spoke to her directly, explaining every step. This respect unsettled her more than cruelty ever had. It made her feel responsible. One morning, Yura surprised herself. She asked June if she could try basic training. Not combat. Not weapons. Just movement. June hesitated. He knew her condition. He had read the medical warnings. But he also remembered her eyes, steady and full of resolve. He agreed on one condition. She would stop the moment her body demanded it. The first session was short. Very short. Yura learned how to stand correctly, how to breathe, how to shift weight without strain. She collapsed after minutes. Her muscles burned. Her vision blurred. Yet when she rested, she smiled. She had never been allowed to fail before. Failure had always meant proof of worthlessness. Here, it meant learning. The sessions continued. Slowly, carefully. Yura trained 3 times a week. Human trainers adjusted exercises to her limits. Some aliens observing through diplomatic channels mocked the effort. They called it pointless. They said her body would break. It did not break. It adapted. Her balance improved first. Then endurance. Tiny changes, measured in seconds and steps. Humans celebrated these changes openly. Each improvement was praised. Each setback was treated as normal. Yura began to walk without her support staff for short periods. She learned to fall safely. She learned to rise again. The act of standing up became a symbol in her mind. June watched quietly. He did not push her. He did not protect her from effort. He treated her like any other trainee, within reason. This made Yura trust him deeply. Outside the base, tension grew. Reports arrived of a hostile alien faction moving closer to the frontier. They believed humans were overextended and weak. They did not consider alliances meaningful. They saw Yura's union as proof of insult. Defense drills increased. Sirens sounded more often. Yura sensed fear, but also readiness. Humans prepared not with prideful speeches, but with clear plans. One afternoon, an evacuation drill was announced. Civilians moved to shelters. Yura followed calmly. Inside the shelter, she saw children and elders sitting together. Soldiers stood guard without panic. The order impressed her. Later that night, Yura could not sleep. Her muscles ached deeply. Yet her mind was alive. She practiced breathing exercises June taught her. For the first time, pain felt like proof of effort, not punishment. Weeks turned into months. Yura's body changed in ways her people never recorded. Her alien biology responded strongly to structured training. Muscle fibers adapted. Neural responses sharpened. Human doctors were amazed. They shared findings openly. Still, Yura was not strong compared to soldiers. But she was no longer fragile. One day, during a routine patrol briefing, an alarm sounded. This was not a drill. Hostile ships entered the system. The base moved into battle readiness. June ordered civilians to shelters. He prepared to lead a defense unit. As he suited up, Yura stood beside him. Fear shook her hands, but she did not step back. She asked what she could do. June looked at her for a long moment. He did not see a frail princess anymore. He saw someone who had earned the right to choose. He told her to stay safe. He told her survival mattered. Yura nodded. But in her heart, something stronger than fear had taken root. As the first distant explosions echoed through the metal walls, Yura realized that her training had not only changed her body, it had changed her belief in herself. She was no longer waiting for fate. She was preparing to face it. The first impact shook Haven Ridge like a sudden storm. Metal walls groaned. Lights flickered. Alarms echoed through every corridor. The hostile alien fleet had begun its assault without warning or message. Their ships were sharp and dark, built for fear and speed. They believed humans would panic. Humans did not panic. Defense crews moved with practiced focus. Gates sealed. Shields rose. June led his unit toward the outer platforms, where ground forces were expected to land. His voice was calm over the channel, giving short and clear orders. Soldiers followed him without question. Yura remained in the shelter at first. She sat among civilians, listening to distant explosions. Children clung to parents. Elders closed their eyes in silent focus. Fear was present, but it was controlled. Yura breathed slowly, just as she had learned. Then the shelter shook violently. A direct hit struck nearby infrastructure. Dust fell from the ceiling. Screams rose. A section of the shelter wall cracked, exposing the corridor beyond. Emergency lights turned red. YURA stood. She did not think of herself as brave. She simply knew what she could do. She helped guide children and elders away from the damaged area. She remembered drills. She remembered routes. Her movements were steady, careful, and deliberate. Outside, enemy landing pods crashed into the surface. Alien warriors poured out, tall and armored, confident in their strength. They expected resistance to break quickly. June's unit engaged them near the power relay zone. The fight was intense. Human weapons were effective, but the enemy was numerous. The ground shook under heavy fire. During the exchange, a blast threw June against a support beam. His armor absorbed some of the force, but not all. Pain shot through his side. He tried to stand and failed. His vision blurred. A human soldier moved to cover him. June ordered him back to position. He attempted to rise again. This time, he collapsed. Yura saw this through an open tactical feed playing on a damaged wall screen. She recognized the location. She recognized June. Fear surged through her, sharp and powerful. For a moment, the old voice inside her whispered that she was weak, that she should hide. She silenced it. Yura moved. She took a simple defense baton from an emergency locker. It was light, designed for crowd control, not war. She adjusted her grip the way she had practiced. She followed maintenance paths she had memorized during training walks. Her body protested as she ran. Muscles burned. Breath came fast. She did not stop. When she reached the relay zone, chaos filled the air. Smoke covered the ground. Explosions flashed like brief suns. She stayed low, using cover, moving when the enemy focused elsewhere. She reached June. He was conscious but pale. Blood stained his armor. When he saw her, shock crossed his face. He told her to leave. She did not answer. An enemy warrior advanced toward them, weapon raised. Yura acted without hesitation. She remembered what humans taught her. Do not match strength. Use position. She struck the alien's knee joint with precise force. The baton cracked against exposed plating. The alien roared and stumbled. Yura moved behind him and struck again, targeting balance points she had studied in alien anatomy files. The alien fell. Yura stood shaking, heart pounding. She had never struck anyone before. She felt fear, but also clarity. More enemies approached. Human soldiers noticed her position. Instead of shouting at her to retreat, they adjusted formation. They covered her flanks. One soldier dragged June to safer ground while Yura stood guard, watching angles, controlling space. She did not fight with rage. She fought with focus. An enemy charged. She sidestepped. Another raised a weapon. She ducked and rolled, feeling pain but continuing. Her movements were not fast, but they were efficient. Every action had purpose. Reinforcements arrived. Heavy human units pushed forward, driving the enemy back. The hostile force had expected fear and collapse. Instead, they faced coordination and refusal to yield. As the enemy retreated, Yura finally allowed herself to stop. Her legs trembled violently. She sank to the ground beside June. Medical teams arrived quickly. They treated June and stabilized his injuries. A medic checked Yura. Her vitals were high but stable. Bruises formed along her arms and legs. She was alive. June reached for her hand. He did not scold her. He did not thank her with grand words. He simply squeezed her hand and told her she did well. The battle lasted several more hours across the planet. By the time the last hostile ship fled, Haven Ridge still stood. Casualties were counted. Losses were mourned. But the base remained functional. Civilians survived. The enemy failed. News spread fast. Reports reached the Human Federation. Reports reached alien space. Data recordings showed a small, once frail alien standing beside human soldiers, holding ground under fire. Some alien leaders denied it. Others were silent. King Herrick received the report alone in his chamber. He watched the footage without expression. When it ended, he remained still for a long time. He remembered the child who struggled to stand. Yura recovered slowly. Her body paid the price for effort beyond its limits. She rested under medical care. Humans treated her injuries with the same seriousness they gave any soldier. When she woke, she found messages waiting. Soldiers left simple notes thanking her. Civilians sent quiet words of respect. No one called her princess. They called her ally. As she lay there, muscles aching and heart steady. Yura understood something, deep and unshakable. She had not won because she was chosen. She had won because she refused to stay down. And that was the way of humans. That was now her way too. Recovery was slower than the battle itself. Haven Ridge carried scars and broken platforms and darkened metal, but life returned with steady effort. Humans repaired what was damaged without ceremony. They worked side by side, sharing tools and quiet words. Yura watched from the medical wing as days passed, feeling the weight of change settle inside her. Her body had limits, and those limits had been tested. Pain lingered in her joints. Muscles remained tight and sore. Human doctors spoke honestly. They told her she had pushed beyond safe margins. They also told her that her body had adapted in ways they had never seen before. Yura listened carefully. She asked questions. She learned Jun recovered in a nearby room. His injuries were serious, but not lasting. When he could stand again, he visited Yura. He did not speak as a commander. He spoke as a partner. He told her that her choice had changed the battle. He also told her that next time she must train properly if she wished to stand in danger again. Yura agreed without hesitation. When she was cleared for light movement, she returned to training grounds, this time not as an observer. Human soldiers greeted her with nods of respect. No one treated her as fragile. No one treated her as special. She was simply there to work. Her training changed. It became structured and demanding. Strength drills were slow and controlled. Balance exercises became complex. She learned how to fall, roll, and recover under pressure. Weapons training focused on tools that fit her body, not traditions built for larger frames. Humans adapted methods to her alien form. They measured results. They adjusted again. Yura trained until sweat soaked her clothes and breath burned her lungs. She rested. Then she trained again. Some alien observers protested. They claimed humans were turning a royal into a weapon. Human commanders replied simply. She had asked to train. She had earned the right. Reports of Yura's progress spread. On distant worlds, alien nobles whispered in disbelief. In Karai, the court grew restless. King Herrick listened to reports with a heavy heart. He saw data charts, combat simulations, and medical scans. The daughter he believed fragile was becoming something else entirely. He did not order her return. On Haven Ridge, mixed units began to form. Humans and allied aliens trained together. Differences in biology became strengths instead of barriers. Yura often trained with these units, learning teamwork beyond species. She learned signals, shared movement, and trust. Trust mattered most. One day, during a high-intensity drill, Yura faced a human opponent larger than her. The exercise was meant to test reaction and control. When it began, Yura moved carefully, reading motion instead of force. She waited. When the opening came, she acted, shifting weight, redirecting momentum, and bringing her opponent to the ground. The watching soldiers cheered softly. Yura helped her opponent stand. She bowed slightly, a habit from her people. The human returned the gesture in his own way. Mutual respect passed between them without words. June watched from the edge of the field. Pride filled him, but he kept it contained. He knew that true strength required humility. Outside the base, the hostile faction did not rest. They regrouped and planned a greater strike. Intelligence reports warned of a larger assault meant to crush Haven Ridge and send a message across human space. Preparation intensified. Yura was invited to planning meetings. At first, she sat quietly, listening. Then she began to speak. She shared insights about enemy tactics, cultural habits, and weaknesses. Her knowledge, once ignored by her own people, became valuable. Commanders listened as the day of expected attack drew closer. Yura trained harder. Her body responded faster. Movements that once caused pain now felt natural. She was still not the strongest. She was still not the fastest. But she was reliable. That reliability earned her a place in a forward unit. When June informed her of the decision, he watched her closely. She accepted calmly. There was no fear in her eyes, only focus. The night before deployment, Yura stood on an observation platform, staring into space. Stars stretched endlessly before her. She thought of Karai. She thought of the girl who could not stand without shaking. She felt distance from that past, not rejection. June joined her. They stood in silence for a long moment. He told her that whatever happened, her choice had meaning. Not just for war, but for how species saw one another. Yura replied softly. She said humans had shown her something her people never did. They showed her how to rise after falling. The next day, alarms sounded again. Enemy ships entered the system in greater numbers. Haven Ridge moved to full defense. Units deployed with precision. Yura moved with her team, armor fitted to her form. Weapon light but effective as transport doors opened and fire lit the sky. Yura felt no doubt that she was no longer a symbol of weakness. She was a soldier of choice, and she was ready. The second assault came with overwhelming force. Enemy ships filled the sky like dark shadows, blocking the stars. Haven Ridge shook under the weight of heavy fire. Shields strained. Power systems groaned. Yet the base did not break. Human commanders acted without delay. Defense lines shifted. Units moved according to plan. Mixed teams of humans and allied aliens took positions across platforms and tunnels. There was fear, but it did not rule them. Yura moved with her unit toward the forward sector. Her armor felt familiar now, like a second skin. Her breathing was steady. Her mind was clear. Around her, soldiers trusted one another without question. Species did not matter. Purpose did. The enemy landed in waves. They were larger in number and heavier in armor than before. They expected to crush resistance through force alone. They were wrong. Human tactics focused on movement and coordination. Units flowed like water, striking and shifting. Yura stayed within formation, watching angles, calling warnings when she saw openings or danger. Her voice was calm, and sharp an enemy squad broke through near a supply corridor. Civilians were still evacuating. Yura's unit moved to intercept. The corridor was narrow, filled with smoke and flashing lights. Visibility was poor. Yura took point. She did not rush. She advanced step by step, listening. When the enemy charged, she used the corridor itself as a weapon. She redirected momentum, struck joints, and forced enemies to fall into one another. Human soldiers followed her lead, disabling targets instead of wasting strength. The corridor held. Elsewhere, the battle raged. Losses mounted on both sides. Then the enemy revealed their final move. A command unit pushed directly toward the central control hub, aiming to cripple Haven Ridge completely. June led the response team. Yura saw the threat on her display. She requested permission to join the defense. There was a pause. Then approval came through. She reached the hub as fighting erupted at its gates. The enemy commander was there, towering and confident. He mocked humans and laughed at the sight of Yura. He called her weak. Yura stepped forward. She did not answer with words. She answered with action. She moved faster than he expected, striking with precision and control. The enemy commander was strong, but strength alone failed him. He could not adapt. Yura adapted. The fight was hard. Pain flared through her body. She was struck and thrown aside. She rose again. Every fall became fuel. Every breath carried resolve. With support from her team, she brought the enemy commander down. The sight broke the morale of the remaining attackers. Human forces pressed forward. The enemy began to retreat. When the last hostile ship fled the system, Haven Ridge stood silent. The battle was over. Medical teams moved quickly. Fires were extinguished. The wounded were treated. Names were spoken with respect. Lives were mourned. Yura sat against a wall, exhausted. June found her there. He helped her stand. Neither spoke for a long moment. Later, reports spread across human and alien space. Footage showed the defense, the coordination, and the alien woman who fought beside humans without fear. On Korai, King Herrick watched everything. He summoned his court and spoke words that shocked them all. He admitted his failure. He admitted that strength had been misunderstood for generations. He named Yura not as a discarded daughter, but as a warrior and leader. Yura returned briefly to Korai with June. She walked the halls where she once hid. Nobles bowed. Warriors watched in silence. She felt no anger, only clarity. She spoke to her people simply. She told them strength could be learned, that weakness was not shame, that survival required change. Then she left again. Yura returned to human space, where she belonged by choice. She continued to train. She continued to serve. She became a bridge between species, proof of what humans inspired rather than conquered. Among the stars, her story spread quietly, not as a legend of birth, but as a truth of effort, and that truth endured.